On behalf of my colleagues, welcome to today's GNCC Lunch and Learn. My name is Mishka Balsam and I will be your moderator. Our theme for the next hour is going to focus actually on software and how the right technology can drive customer service and sales. Most small businesses are familiar with the benefits of a robust website with all the necessary plugins, along with a sound social CRM. We know that it provides faster customer service. It allows us to build new relationships. It gives us a better understanding of our customers' needs and issues, as well as improves our brand recognition. And it actually improves the control of our social presence, in addition to integrating our social media closer to our marketing, our sales and services. But while having said all of this, it can be overwhelming for us to look at and to line up the tools available to us and determine which ones are the right for our business. And so we thought, let's come together for lunch and learn and shed a little bit of light on it. We're really pleased that we're being joined by Adrian Tobey, who is a software developer of an award-winning product for WordPress. He's the founder of Groundhogg, Inc., established in 2018, a suite of business software tools that help businesses and agencies create marketing results. Recognized for his innovation, Groundhogg won the Gold Stevie Award for Tech Startup of the Year in the software category in 2020. Currently, they're serving over 1,200 users worldwide, representing over 30 countries. But before we start the dialogue and the presentation, we want to actually give a loud shout out to one of our partners when it comes to the Lunch and Learn, and that's the YMCA Employment and Immigrant Services of Niagara, who has been a leading partner of our Lunch and Learn sessions. Whether you're looking for an entry-level work or a more senior role, finding a job is never easy. And that is why they offer extensive employment programs to support employees through this process, while at the same time actually supporting employers that are looking for offering extensive employment service programs or looking for the talent to complement their team. And it's my great pleasure to be joined today by Jillian Pagnotta, who's passionate about the work of the YMCA Employment and Immigrant Services of Niagara, and we're equally as passionate as well. Over to you, Jillian.
Thank you, Mishka. My name is Jillian Pagnotta, and I am one of the managers with the YMCA Employment and Immigrant Services in Niagara. We're so grateful to sponsor this event, and so thankful for Mishka and her hardworking team at GNCC who continue to put this on. The YMCA Employment and Immigrant Services currently has 14 programs and services to assist job seekers and employers in the Niagara region. Specifically for employers, we continue to offer wage subsidy to enhance, to assist you onboard new staff. And we also offer, we can help organize job seeker tours that help employers create awareness to their business, job seeker awareness specifically during this time. Please follow up with me specifically or any member of our team if you require any assistance with this.
Jillian, thank you so very much. And thank you to you and your colleagues for all that you do for people in Niagara. You really do make a difference. So thank you. Today's format, many of you are familiar with it, is we're hoping and aiming for a very interactive one where we have a presentation probably around maybe just under 40 minutes, and it will be followed by a Q&A session. Many of you have actually already provided us with some of the questions, and please know that we're more than committed to getting to all of them. If you wish to enable live transcript, just refer to the bottom of your Zoom screen for that option. And as always, with all of our Lunch and Learns, this is going to be recorded and will be made available to you directly as well as on our website. And on that note, I'm really thrilled. I'm always usually say to pass the mic on to Adrian, but in this case, I'm going to give him the screen and pass it on to you. So Adrian, over to you.
Well, thanks for having me. I am really pleased to be here and thankful for the opportunity to share a little bit about my my knowledge as far as creating really great customer experiences goes today. So thanks for having me. So hello, everybody, and welcome. And thanks for taking the next hour out of your day to spend it with us. I'm really appreciative of that. I know there's lots of other things that small business owners in this region could be doing. And we're all very busy, especially coming off sort of like the Black Friday weekend. So I'm really appreciative, and I hope that you're going to get a lot of value out of the next hour today. So today we're going to be talking about providing better customer experiences that drive more sales, leveraging digital channels and data to create profitable customer relationships at scale. And, you know, probably that's a lot of techno babble and jargon. I mean, I come from the tech industry. So basically, if you want to create more fulfilling customer relationships, increase the impact your business has in your community, create more positive reviews, either on like your Facebook page or your Google page or whatever, increasing profits, those are all things that we as small businesses typically like. And through customer experience is the way that I like to achieve those things. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Adrian Tobey. I help small businesses and agencies adopt proven digital marketing strategies. I have a few companies. Groundhogg is sort of like our breadwinner organization. And through Groundhogg, we offer a few different tech products. We also offer Tipsy Theory, which is actually a local media organization aimed at helping local businesses, business to consumer businesses, especially in the agritourism industry in this area. Our companies have won a couple of awards, and I personally have been nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year through the Canadian SME Business Awards. And I personally just really love helping small businesses. So I joined the GNCC so I could do that, and I could sort of share some of my information, some of my knowledge when it comes to implementing technology to create better customer experiences. So I'm just going to jump into it, if that's okay with everybody. My 5 steps to creating a profitable customer experience. And it all starts, and this has actually been a little bit of a passion project of mine ever since moving down to Niagara last year in August, where I'm going to all these lovely wineries, I'm going to all these lovely restaurants, these shops over on the main strip in Niagara on the Lake, and I just absolutely love it down here. And everywhere I have like my automation, I have my customer experience hat on, and I'm looking at these businesses, and I'm just seeing missed opportunity as far as building a list, building data, and creating a community around your business. So I've broken this into like 5 steps. So step 1 for creating a positive customer experience that is scalable is you have to start collecting customer data on site. And this is probably the #1 grievance that I have against local small businesses in this area, is that no one is collecting data when people are going into places. And I think the agritourism industry is especially guilty of this. As far as I'm concerned, absolutely every location with a counter where you are serving, where you are in service of, should be collecting data in some way or form, whether it's you got like an iPad on the counter or even just like a comment card. Anecdotally, I used to live in Toronto. We would go to a comedy club, and then they would just ask for your phone number and your email address, and did you enjoy the show? You got entered into a draw, and that was a reason for always going back, because they'd call you up on the phone or they send you an email. Hey, you won free tickets. We picked your name out of a draw, and that was an excellent customer experience. Kept you coming back. Spend more on booze, spend more on food. You bring your friends, and it's just a really, really, really great time. And that is just such a missed opportunity that I see for a lot of the business to consumer industry that we have in this awesome region of the world. So iPad on the counter, pen and paper with some comment cards, and just ask people for their name, phone, and email in exchange for some sort of immediate reward. Either it's like a discount or free tickets to something, or like if you're a winery, like, you know, if you bring a friend with you the next time you come, their tasting is free, or 10% off on the wine store if you buy 2 bottles or something like that. So some sort of immediate reward in exchange for that data, because that data becomes reusable. It becomes infinitely leverageable in order to create and bring more business. So an example of what this might look like if you were to have like an iPad on your counter or something similar to that would be something that you might have just on your website, which is, you know, 10% off your next visit, name, email address, big subscribe button, unsubscribe anytime. You know, there's no sort of deep commitment, at least from the consumer's perspective. And it's just something that's really, really easily implementable. Whether you have whatever CRM that you use, it's like MailChimp or ActiveCampaign, or ours is called Groundhogg, although this is something that you could do with any of them. And then when you have that information and you start collecting that data and you're building your list, step 2 of sort of 5 steps is follow up and reward. So you gave them a reward, and if it's something that's like using on the next visit, which sort of guarantees to some degree a return visit from that particular person, you want to follow up with them via email or text message or Facebook Messenger or whatever your audience's sort of main channel of communication is, and remind them of the incentive that you offer in order to have them come in and participate and give you some repeat business. And I also find that it's incredibly useful to also ask for a review. So imagine someone comes into your location of business, they have a wonderful experience, they give you their data. You can then follow up with them after that positive experience and say, hey, listen, you had a great experience. Why don't you go leave a review on Google? And we do that as far as our software company is concerned. And that has just been nothing but absolutely extraordinary in terms of a review generation method. And obviously, reviews are sort of the way that people judge whether or not they should invest time in your business. So having more of those is always a good thing. And then you can send them, again, just keep following up basically until they unsubscribe with an offer in order to get that repeat business. So I have just some anecdotal examples of what that might look like. Thanks for visiting. If you had a great experience with us, reply yes. If they reply yes, it sends them a link to go leave that review. Come back with a friend within 2 weeks. Their tasting is free. I love wine. I'm a big wine. I just joined a wine club at Casaba. I see some wineries doing this. It's definitely not the norm, but it should be, because I think it would be something that's just really incredibly powerful. And especially for all the B2C businesses on this call, this is something that is applicable to you as well. So step 3 of this process, so we're collecting data, we're now leveraging that data short term. And now what we want to do is we want to sort of expand that vision. We want to think a little bit longer term. What do we do with that data? How do we leverage that data? And how do we really make it start working for us? Because it's all well and good to collect data. And I see a lot of businesses that do collect data failing to leverage it in a meaningful and useful way. So number 1 is you have to communicate consistently. That means having a consistent message, a consistent brand, and you're constantly sharing that with the people whose data you have, either through email, through getting them to join Facebook groups, through your Facebook page, through your Twitter account, whatever it is. You have to be consistently on message and message them, whether it's, hey, we have this new product that's in stock, or we have this event coming up and we want you to participate, or there's this, we're going to be participating at this trade show or whatever, and we want you to come and visit us. There has to be consistent messaging, because if there isn't, people just forget. And then, if it's been 3 months and then they get an email from you and the email tone is just a little bit off, then they're just going to unsubscribe or mark you as spam, or they're just going to ignore it. And we don't want any of those things. So consistent messaging breeds a relationship between the brand, your business, and that consumer. Part of that consistent messaging is, as soon as you get that data, what you can start to do is you can invite them to participate at sort of what we call the community level, which is Facebook groups, Facebook pages, following you on Twitter, following you on Instagram, tagging photos that they post on Instagram. In Prince Edward County, we visited there earlier this year, my wife and I, and there's a couple of wineries that had like these photo booths. And it was just like, hey, go take your photo at like our designed photo booth, tag so-and-so winery, and share it on Instagram. And people are usually really happy to do that. It's free exposure. It gets them involved in your brand, and it makes them almost emotionally invested in the outcome of your business. And that's really what you want, is people who are emotionally invested in the outcome. And doing this repeatedly, eventually what it does, it creates brand fanatics. It creates champions that promote you. So some ways to engage with your audience at a deeper level, besides just the people that show up to your location on a daily basis: email and post often, at least twice weekly, through whatever channels that you have access to, even if it is simply to remind people of your existence. Even if you don't have anything new to share, just say, hey, just checking in to see if we can, help you, or to see if you need anything from us, or to see if you want to come back, and here's an incentive to do so, right? Even if it's just something like, a little bit surface level, that's absolutely fine, because you just want to, again, consistently communicate to remind people of your existence and to don't let them forget who you are, to create that relationship. Don't be afraid. And this is an objection to this that I get a lot, is people are afraid, businesses are afraid of over communication. They don't want to bombard their subscribers with too much stuff, because they don't want to make people upset, or they don't want to sort of tarnish that relationship. And that is a valid objection. And certainly if you're doing it like 4 times a day, that might be a bit much. But if you're doing it like twice weekly, or even 3 times weekly, and people are upset and they decide to unsubscribe, or they decide to put you on blast or whatever, that person was not your customer. And that's what I say to that objection. If you're doing it like 4 times a day, then fair enough. But otherwise, that person is not your customer. You don't need to, worry about that edge case, because by and large, most people are going to be absolutely fine. They're going to get indoctrinated. They're going to get engaged. And that's what we want. A particular way, if you have a location, this works really, really well. Hosting clubs, or even creating a club. And wineries have wine clubs, beers have some special events or live music. Creating these unique events or clubs that bring people to a central location for a unified cause that aligns with their brand and message is a great way to engage at a community level and create sort of these brand champions. And a lot of places also do high ticket, like $100 plus ticket sales per person, special events targeted to existing customers that make them feel special. They make them feel like they're, it's sort of like an elitist thing. People love to feel elite. And so capitalizing on that is a great way to engage as well. Okay, we're blasted through this. Step 4. And this is where, this is probably step 3, 4, and 5 are sort of the biggest ones that have the most meaningful impact that the least amount of businesses take advantage of. Because sort of the prerequisites of having collecting data is necessary, having that follow-up and reward is necessary, and having that community element is necessary. So 4 and 5 you can't even do unless you have these sort of 3 pillars in place ahead of time. So 4 and 5 are sort of where the money happens, and where you sort of have your largest ability to be profitable. You have the highest available impact in your community and for your champions. So use the data that you collected from all these previous things. So ideally, throughout this process, you've had some sort of warehouse of information that you're storing people's names, their email addresses, their order history, how many times they visited your location. And if you don't have that, I'd highly recommend that you invest in something that can keep track of that, because the money has always been in the list. And I spoke to recently an owner of a local winery, and what they're doing is really cool. They're developing a whole dashboard for knowing how many tastings did we do today, how many of those people bought wine. So they have like this entire funnel of data that they can use in order to optimize their operations and their sales process. And if you don't have that data, then the best you can do is just offer, great product and great service, which is all well and good. But when you offer great product and great service backed by informed decisions based on data, it just makes it a little bit more, makes it easier to grow and to scale, because you're making those informed decisions. You're not kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, which is typically, the way that small business operates. So if we have that data, again, prerequisites, if we have that data, we have it stored, we know what people are doing, we could use that to identify people on that list that are what we call our hardcore customers, or we call them our champions. These are people that are like indoctrinated, they love the product, they love the brand. And what we want to do with those people is we want to reward them with special treatment and watch them sing your praises, and they're going to spend more money, and they're going to get on to the Restaurants of Niagara Facebook group, and they're going to, when people ask, what restaurant should I take to, or where should I go, or where should I bring my date, then that's what they're going to do. They're going to say, you should bring them here. And the ways that we can identify our champions are, we, again, track in-person visits and online purchases and purchases in store by using their email address or their phone numbers, that unique identifier, to track this person's behavior with your brand over time. We can track engagements with email communications or replies to text messages. We can track feedback and reviews that they left. And we can compile all of these things into like a score. We call that the lead score in sort of the technobabble tech industry. We call that the lead score. And we can use that score to pick out the people in our database, in our data warehouse, in our list, and we can communicate to those people at a different level than you communicate with the rest of everybody. This is called segmented communication. We want to identify these people and we want to talk to them differently because they deserve to be talked to differently, because they are sort of just, they're highly invested in the outcome of your business. And so if we can reach that people at a different level of communication, that's only going to serve to promote your brand further. Ways that we can activate those champions on your list is you can create special products, events, promotions just for them. They are special, they are specific, and they are just for them. And we can engage them at that higher level. You don't offer this product or these services or the promotions to anybody else, just the champions. Give your champions early access to, and if you have public events often, or if you have public products that you're releasing, you can give your champions early access to that. And I think probably one of the most impactful things that you can do is you can give champions a badge. And it's incredible how impactful something as cheap as like a $10 baseball hat can be to someone. Oh yeah, you just, next time you come in, we're going to give you a hat. It has the logo on it. They will wear that hat every single day for the entire summer. And people are like, hey, where'd you get that hat? And it's like, oh, we got it at this place. It's like, how'd you get it? Oh, well, it's special just for me, but if you want to go check it out, I highly recommend it. So just like simple swag like that, just a badge that shows that, hey, I'm special. And then what they're going to do is they're going to post, they're going to share, they're going to walk around, and they're just going to be a brand ambassador for your organization, for your product, and for you, which I think is incredibly valuable. It's like the best marketing that you could do is someone who's just genuinely invested in your success. All right, so that's step 4, activating our champions. And then after we've activated our champions, and again, this is all a lot easier said than done, and you have to build on every single one of these steps. You can't just start at step 4 and you can't go back to step 1. So after step 1, 2, and 3, we've got step 4, activating our champions. And after you've done that, then we can go to the final step of creating sort of like the ultimate customer experience that is going to create the biggest impact in your community, the biggest impact profitability, and the biggest impact just in general for your organization in terms of being able to help your community and help the people, is we want to introduce exclusivity. And I know that might sound a little bit like, well, if I want to help more people and I want to provide to more people and I want to engage with more people, how does introducing exclusivity like merge with that? It seems a little bit counterintuitive. When I started my tech company, I wasn't the brightest person on the block as far as sort of business acumen and marketing goes. And I'm like, well, I just want to sell my product for like super duper cheap, and I want to reach as many people as possible, and we'll make money and we'll grow by volume, right? And that's sort of like the at least the tech person's like initial desire is, I want to like have like 1 million customers and sell it really cheap and do like volume of scale. And that doesn't necessarily work all that well. I found out now we sort of limited our focus to identify a specific niche of people that we want to service. We introduced exclusivity, and now we actually have a profitable organization. And so what you can do as a public organization serving a vast demographic is for those champions, and we want to sort of upgrade those champions and people throughout sort of like our level of customer, our customer period. We want to have something at the top, something that's aspirational, something that people want to be a part of, but is limited either by your ability to service it, by the availability of product, by the availability of time, whatever that is. We want to reward customer loyalty with exclusive offers, events, and promotions of products. That's what we want to do. So it's a special product that only people of the wine club can buy, or it's a special event that only, club members or loyal members or champions can go to. And what we want to do is we want to market this exclusive opportunity to sort of our community at large, but have people sort of go through the customer ladder, the customer period, whatever you want to call it, in order to sort of be able to participate at this level. And you can also introduce exclusivity as like pre-sale for exclusive people, and things like that, limiting access to high value products. And the perceived value of what you have to offer at those levels will significantly increase as the limitation goes down and your public reach goes out or grows rather. So what does exclusivity look like? Again, access limited to like a membership or club or whatever it is that you want to do. Like think of a wine club, that's sort of an exclusive thing. I was at Big Head on what is it called? It's not Drummond that far out. I always forget what it's like, 7 Mile Creek or Mile Creek Road or something like that. I was at Big Head, and in order to join, they have a Reds only wine club, which is like $500 a quarter or something. And in order to join that wine club, first you have to join the regular wine club, right? Which is 250 or 280 or something a quarter like that. And so you have to join one club first before you are even allowed to participate in the wine. And the limitation on that is just the availability of product, right? But that's how they built it. So they have this sort of built-in ladder where it's like, okay, well, you want to participate at this higher level for this really good wine, well, you have to join this first. And you have to do that for so long until we have more product in order to be able to serve that. So, and then the people in the first wine club get dibs on the spots that open in the top wine club, right? So that's how they sort of cycle people through. Reserving the best products or events for members only. I mentioned that. Give members perks like store discounts, free visits, better rates on any monthly stuff that you have going on. Like most of the, and I'm just using the wine club because I think it's like the most just local example. We've all had experience most likely with our sort of wine industry in this area. So I think it makes a lot of sense to just use that as the typical example. But, you know, I joined the Cassava Wine Club and we get, I think, 15% off on all store purchases, which I think is great. And you can see me, like, even I'm promoting Cassava's Wine Club here because I'm a champion, because I love their wine. I love the product. They get treated really well. And so there you go. If you need an example, I'm one. And again, giving members a badge, swag. I actually got a card. I wonder if I have it in my wallet here. Let's find out. That's a maybe. Oh, I did. Cassava VIP. So I actually got a badge. It has a scan thing on it that they scan, and it makes you feel very, very special, right? So stuff like that is just a fantastic way in order to create this era of exclusivity. And people are always going to be willing to pay more, right? For that kind of experience. And the basis of all of this, so the basis of being able to do any of this at scale, not haphazardly, doing it properly, doing it well, identifying your customers, is on the basis of being able to communicate with your customers regularly. And in order to do that, in order to have the data, in order to leverage, you have to have the technology component associated with that at the CRM level, customer relationships management tools. There's lots of them to choose from. You got MailChimp and ActiveCampaign, you got HubSpot, you got Salesforce, which probably everybody on the planet has heard of. You got ConvertKit. There's just plenty to choose from. And you have to start with collecting the data. And the easiest way to do that, especially if you already have pre-existing traffic, foot traffic that is coming to yours, just have it all starts here. It starts with having the iPad on the counter, name, email address. And if you don't have that, well, you can go buy an iPad at Walmart by the end of this week and just have that set up. It doesn't even have to go anywhere yet. You just have it and you can start building your list. And then all of these things you are going to be able to build on top of that data and create your customer journey or create your customer experience, your ladder, and move people through that and just reap the rewards, basically. I've seen lots of organizations that I've worked with, agencies and small businesses in 65 countries around the world do this. And I can tell you from experience that it's probably a really good idea. Okay. Well, I don't know what that is. I'm going to close that. So like I'm saying, scaling requires knowing your audience, knowing your data, having access to it, being able to leverage it properly. And so you're thinking at this point, all right, well, that sounds all well and good, but I don't really know what to do or how to start with that, which fair enough. It's a lot of information that I just threw at you. And so, like I was saying, an iPad on the counter, comment cards, even if it's just write your name on a piece of pen and paper, and having that at the counter and giving them some sort of incentive is the easiest place to start. It just starts with the acceptance that data is important to your organization. You're going to need eventually, if you don't have one, you're going to need a CRM to connect to and store and be able to aggregate and segment that data to be able to identify those people, those champions on your list, and be able to communicate consistently. You need a marketing automation platform to communicate with your subscribers. You want to build your community, and the community is very, very, very pinnacle to any of this working, because if there's no community, then there's no sort of sharing of ideas within the people that are your champions. And it also, just having a community is just a great place to spread your message and to also get new ideas. Facebook page, a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit, Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, WordPress, just pick one. Don't have a community on multiple places. Just pick one to start with and build your community there. Focus on getting people to join that community when they're in front of you, when they're in front of your servers or you as the business owner, and saying, hey, listen, if you really like our product, maybe you want to consider following us on X platform so we can, bounce ideas out to. And most importantly, you're going to need patience. None of this is going to be, except for having the form on the counter, none of this can be implemented really overnight. It's going to require patience in order to build that data set, in order to build that list, in order to build your community. This is probably like a 1 to 2 year, level, or a 1 to 2 year implementation period until you have steps 1 through 5 all set up. But you can get to steps 1 to 3 very, 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 very quickly. Like steps 1, 2, and 3 can be implemented within a month, if not less than that. 4 and 5, those take longer because it requires your consistent communication to have impact on the people actually visiting, on the people coming, having those repeat visits, getting those badges, that special treatment implemented, whether it's a hat, whether it's that VIP card that I showed you, whether it's a special event. All of those things take time to implement. So 1 through 3, very, very, very quick. 4 and 5, a little bit longer, and it's very dependent on your ability in order to create those sort of exclusive and special things for your champions and for the people who just want to pay more in order to get better service. So if that all sounds like too much, or you need a little bit more guidance, or you're going to need more information from someone who's done this before, I'll be at the next Business After 5 meeting. Feel free to come talk to me. It's on December 6th. I'll be happy to provide any additional guidance that you need or context in order to take next steps. You can also email me. My email address is adrian@groundhogg.io. I'm happy to guide. I'm happy to get on a call, half hour, whatever you need. Because if all this is sounding like this is what your business has been missing, if this sounds like you could benefit from this, I'd be happy to guide you on that and provide a little bit of consulting for that. The first meeting's free. So if there's any questions, this is the point where we can definitely take those.
Adrian, thank you so very much for the presentation. It was excellent, actually. And likely with so much information, it's always difficult to decipher. But I actually think it's a perfect lead into 2 things. So first of all, we're going to share in the chat all the details about our upcoming Business After 5, which will be next Tuesday from 5 to 7. And so we're looking forward to seeing you, Adrian, and hopefully everyone else attending. That would be excellent. We got a couple of questions that had been sent to us ahead of time. We've got a high number of questions also via the chat. So I'm just going to dive into a couple of them and hope that it continues with this conversation that we're having. So in light of technology, there's a couple of individuals that are asking very specific questions, and they're all related to the CRM or the right CRM system for a small business.
Well, that's my jam. That's what I do. That's
I
my
know.
daily.
I know. So here the question is comparing, I think it's called Dubsado and Sprout. I'm familiar with Sprout. It's a social media management system. and likely used by many of them. But for basically, they're asking for a back office organization and in the best way to nurture prospective leads and develop an excellent and exceptional brand experience. Would you recommend one more over the other?
So what are my options here? Sprout and
the other one is called Dubsado, which is Dubsado. And that was a specific question that had come to us. But maybe in general, if we go a little bit more general and look at what are some of the best CRM systems out there and available to people that especially integrate the social media aspect of it.
Groundhog.
Groundhog. Yes, I heard that. And yet maybe in one, then maybe the question should be slightly different. How do they differentiate other
Yeah.
than
So without me
aspect
being
of it?
cheeky,
Yeah.
without me being cheeky, if the platform that is going to be best for the organization is not necessarily like all of this is built on data, and all of this is based on information that you can collect from people. And some systems make it easier to collect specific information than others. So what you want to be looking for when you're looking for a software or a CRM, especially for the business to consumer, where people are coming in and people are visiting your location and you have like the online store component, is you want a system that is going to be able to track those activities as individual data points, and then be able to segment that list to find the people who visit most often, so that you can identify champions and then reward those people as a result, right? It's easier to do that in some products than others. I'm not too familiar with those two specific products that were mentioned. I operate very much within sort of the B2B space, and coming into the agritourism market is something that I've recently been very passionate about and interested in. So I'm not super familiar with all of them yet. But being able to track those individual actions as data points, if it's difficult to do that within the software, it's going to be difficult in order to activate champions, and it's going to be difficult. And most importantly, I think it's important to mention that what we have like Talk, which is like really popular as a service for collecting information and allowing people to book for like the agritourism industry and stuff like that. And I think it's a very attractive offering, because the business owner basically doesn't have to do anything because it's all taken care of. The only issue with that, and when you use services like that, is you don't own the data. And that is one of the largest problems with services like a Eventbrite or Talk or any of these sort of, they have like a CRM component, but you don't own the data. And so you can't go and export that and do with that what you will. It's all centralized. And then they become their customer, and they're not your customer, it's their information. So when you're thinking about implementing a sort of like the back office platform, the data warehouse, and collecting those data points, you want to make sure that you are in control of that information so you can use it to your benefit. If you're using one of those platforms, which I have nothing against them, and they have their place, but if you're looking to do something like this, you have to be in control of that data.
Yeah, actually, I think you're making an excellent point, because these are some of the questions that have come forward. So some individuals have asked, what happens to my data when I move away from WordPress, for example, that has an integrated service to it there? Or many customers are also cautious at the same time of switching over to new software for the obvious reasons. Now,
oh yeah, it's so painful.
It's painful, but there's also
yeah.
risk of losing data, the risk of that element of it. Are you aware of any software that actually allows people to run parallel with the existing system, so that when people want to make the change, that they're not losing the data that they have taken years to accumulate at the same time, but they could run them at the same time?
Well, there's useful data and there's not useful data. The useful data is location, name, email, phone, obviously, sort of the contact details. That's obviously incredibly important. And the other incredibly important part is sort of like the history, how many times they visited. If you have that, if you were able to collect that, then that's awesome. like their customer value, their lifetime customer value, like how much they've spent with you over time, whether in store or online. That's the information that's really important. There's some superfluous data that you don't necessarily need, like how many times they opened emails over the years or what links they clicked on. Like that stuff is less valuable. What's most valuable is sort of the number of high level interactions that they have with the organization. So as long as you can preserve that, that's what's really important.
Yeah.
And obviously contact details, and maybe if you're using a system that has like tags or lists or segmentation, all of that stuff can more or less be migrated to any system with just a CSV file. So that's not also all that too difficult. Like you can, like for Groundhogg, you can import anything into Groundhogg that you want.
Yeah.
And that goes for all of the CRMs, really, at least the high level ones. There's some there's industry specific stuff, like there's industry specific CRMs that are out there. And some of them are better than others. Some of them have like, specific integrations with like the POS systems that you might have or stuff like that. And those typically don't offer the capabilities that you're looking for in order to implement what I was talking about today. So like this customer journey, because they just don't have the data accumulation aspect that you really need in order to leverage it fully, or the marketing automation component. The marketing automation component is, I sort of bundle that into CRM, but it really is a different thing to a lot of people. And that is the ability to create communication automatically. So you don't have someone in an office typing out 1,000 emails all day that are personalized. It's being able to create personalized messaging that automatically triggers when someone enters their email at the counter, or they visit a location, or they buy something online, and it shoots them an email automatically without any interaction that says, hey, listen, here's your thing, or here's your offer to come back, or here's your free shipping, or go leave a review. Like all of that stuff is automated, and having a system that can do that is incredibly relevant to be able to creating that consistent communication. So you as a business owner aren't, stuck in front of a computer for 9 hours a night, manually doing all of that stuff. Like I should mention that.
Yeah, I think it makes sense actually, because I think in today's age, and everyone is used to it, I think we're expecting this automation to actually be in place. And but it leads me to something else, and this is a question that has come forward from one of our attendees here, and it's Dawson, and they're asking how much time should one allocate to their business per week for this kind of activity? Because when we listen to it, and especially if our business is not active in it, it can be slightly overwhelming. My engagement,
for sure.
How to build the traffic, how to reward, and then you're saying like, and then developing these other, gatherings or incentives for those who we consider to be champions of ours. So, but if we don't look at like how to reward the champions, when I'm only looking at how much time should an average business spend on this kind of engagement, that social media engagement, that tracking of it, what are your suggestions? How can one measure it? Does it need—
The answer is more than you're doing.
That is likely the case. And then the second question, and links to this one too, is to say, who is then responsible for it within the organization? Should it be a dedicated person, or can we, if it's a small team of under 5, how do we best manage it?
Well, there's 3 ways that you can approach sort of implementing this. Step or way number 1, and just to answer like how much time you should, the answer truly is more than you're doing, right? You should always just be engaging more. Obviously, it is an unrealistic expectation to say you should be spending all of your time doing this, but it all starts with just taking small steps. It starts with just putting an iPad on the counter, right? That is like the easiest thing at this time you could do. Go to Walmart, buy one. They probably still have like a Cyber Monday deal going on. Just go buy one right now. And if you got MailChimp, everybody's got a free MailChimp account. Every business has a free MailChimp account. I have a free MailChimp account. I don't use it because I have my own product, but it takes no effort to just put a form on your website, load up the web page on the iPad, and just do that. And that's going to take you a couple hours, right? At the most, right? So that's not a lot of effort. It is more effort when you get into creating offers and engagements and communicating consistently. So there's 3 ways to tackle that. Number 1, you could do it yourself. And if you're doing it yourself and you're working in your business, you're just going to have to do it when you're not working in your business. You're going to have to set aside a time, after you put the kids to sleep or whatever, you're going to have to set like 7 to 9, and you're just going to have to learn, and you're just going to have to do it. So that's option number 1. There's lots of education on how to build offers and create hypnotic copywriting and write subject lines and do all that, or send the text messages. So that's option number one. Number two, you could hire someone to do it. Like you mentioned, you could dedicate this responsibility to someone who comes from the industry, or is coming out of college or university that took marketing degrees and stuff like that. Or you could outsource it to someone who's done it 1,000 times. Typically a marketing agency. You can get a consultant, and you can have them do it, because a lot of this stuff is, once you have like steps 1 through 3 set up, it's like you don't really have to change it all that frequently. Like once you have the engagements with or all the automation set up with, they visit, send them a request for review, or they put their email address, send them an incentive, or they haven't visited in 3 months, send them the incentive again to come get them and visit back. Like once that stuff is set up, it's sort of like evergreen, right? And you don't need to set it up or manage it every day. It's done. And then you can start to focus a lot more of your energy on steps 4 and 5, which requires a little bit more attention and care, because you have to find those people on your list. And once you have sort of the data points that you want to use to score people that you want to identify as your champions, you want to send them stuff. That takes a little bit more time. And at least in wineries, that person is like the club manager, right? That's their job. If you have the time and you're not, you're working on the business rather in the business, then you also have that time to sort of identify those people and go through that process. So steps 4 and 5 require the most amount of effort, but you can outsource steps 1 through 3 fairly easily and for not that much money.
Yeah, no, it makes sense actually. And I think you're right. I think you have to have the foundation in place to actually support your efforts that you have, and then actually move forward from here. Adrian, I'm not sure, this is another question that has come forward. I'm not sure if you're familiar with a software called Wave, and that's connecting payments to invoicing. It's along the same way, and it's saying like, how can we create now more transactions actually that would actually lead us through the channel? Because now we're engaging with it, a customer shows, and we want to turn them around. They show interest in the products that we have. What is one of the best ways to actually, what software options do people have to create that next step?
Well, if your goal is increasing the volume of transactions, if that's the goal, that's sort of a software independent problem. The volume of transactions comes from the amount of people that you have access to, right? If you have access to more people, you can have a greater volume of transactions because you have more people to sell to. Yeah. Right. So there's 3 ways to make more money. You can find more people, you can increase prices, or you can sell more to the people that you have. So if you want more transactions, that's a software independent problem. It's either find more people or send more offers and communicate more consistently with the people that you already have. Those are your 2 options. It's a software independent problem. You can decrease the barriers to creating transactions. Like you can have, you can set up like Apple Pay or stuff in order to make creating transactions easy. But if you're asking about the volume of transactions, it's just communication or marketing. Like that's it. Those are the 2 things that you have to resolve.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Another question that has come forward is that people, aside from just in general looking at what is my traffic to my site, how am I communicating to them, customers are looking to really get a better measure on their social customer and the relationship that they have with them. So traffic is one way of looking at it. Engagement is another. Another level that people are interested in is the level of followers. We want to know who they are and what they are connected to, as well as measuring our brand mentions. So the level or type of followers that we have and the brand mentions that happen. What is available to customers? What is available to businesses to measure that level? Because I can see it as being a key indicator in how to move forward, and having a sense that this follower or this person who's interacting with us of what products and services they might be interested in.
Rule number 1 about social media is like likes and hearts don't pay bills.
Yep.
So that's so when it comes to social media, that's sort of like my like they don't pay bills unless you're like an influencer and you're charging brands, which is what we are, right? I don't know if we have any influence on the call, but if you're like a small business, you generally, those are the people that you're paying, and their likes pay bills. But as far when you're a consumer brand, or you're a business to consumer, likes and hearts don't pay bills. The follower count is a great indicator of community, though, which is step number 3. So you obviously want to have the larger community you have, the more people you have access to, and the more people you can share your message with, and that's kind of what's important. Using the follower count, the likes, and all that, it's all vanity metrics. When a business, like, think of it in terms of like when you're selling your business, if you're a business owner and you're done, you want to retire, you want to sell this business to someone else, what are the things that they're going to look at that they're going to be able to get value of? And it's going to be the amount of data that you personally own, because you can get deplatformed from any social media or any network at any time for any reason. That's not what I talked a little bit about earlier, about owning your data, building your castle, like creating the moat around your business. Like, email is the only decentralized, and text messages to a degree, it's the only decentralized communication channel that currently exists at the moment. And that is what has inherent value. The follower count and those things don't, I'm not saying they're not important, but they're not going to matter much if you go to sell your business, and certainly not as much as the availability of the data that you have in-house, that you own, that you can control, that you can leverage in order to find your champions, in order to communicate, in order to send emails, in order to do whatever. If you're spending a lot of time losing sleep at night because your Facebook post isn't getting 1,000 likes, or your Instagram post isn't getting 1,000 likes, I'd recommend stop. It's not a success metric. That is the success metric for influencers, not for small businesses. The success metric for small businesses is dollars in, dollars out. And having the data to back that up, and being able to leverage data to impact that number directly. And again, it's part of community, like that number is part of the community, and that's important. But don't lose sleep over it, right? Send an email when you get that person's information, when you get that email, send them an email, go join all of our social media accounts, follow us on all the social media accounts, and that'll grow organically over time. But if that is your main channel and that is what you're putting all of your energy into, in my experience, it hasn't delivered the results that organizations are typically looking for.
Yeah, makes sense. Many people, especially when they look at CRM systems, are actually only looking for a number of the features that they have. They don't look for all of them. It's not applicable to their business. They don't want to expand in it. If you would say, if someone is purchasing a CRM system, not looking for a full-on CRM system, what do you think should be their main purpose? Like, what are the key aspects of where you're saying these are the 3 things any CRM system should include, even if the person or the business right now might not recognize that, because a lot of CRM systems are very straightforward for what they're able to do. But if you're looking at it and saying, like, never shortchange yourself for these 1 or 2 or 3 aspects that your CRM system should have.
The ability to collect information, and the information that you want. At least for, I think, the majority of the businesses on this call, that's going to be the data points of customer value, customer retention, the number of times a customer visits you or has a significant interaction, to a lesser degree, email open rates and click-through rates and stuff like that, which is pretty typical among all of the CRMs and marketing automation suites that exist. Number 2, the ability to automate. You have to be able to create the systems that say, here's the follow-up after a significant interaction. And number 3, reporting. You have to be able to comb through the data that you acquired to be able to find the data points that are going to make you or help you make informed business, product, and marketing decisions. If a system's got bad reporting, or it doesn't make the data as accessible as possible, it's just painful, and it's not going to be a valuable resource to your business.
Yeah. And I think to some degree, it has to integrate with other things that you have currently already in place.
Integration is important, but there's lots of tools that enable integration. I will say the least integratable products are the niche specific ones.
Yes.
So if you have a market specific CRM, it is better. I would say it's better to go outside of the niche, outside of like the niche specific, and get something a little bit more generic that's more integratable, or that you can build on top of. And there's a few that do that, like mine or like HubSpot or like Salesforce, any of this stuff. But the niche specific ones have a lot of lock-in, which, kudos to them. That's how they build a business, which, fair enough. Like, I'm a capitalist, like, I want to create lock-in too. So fair enough, fair play. But I will say from experience that those ones just typically have less opportunity, and they're a little bit slower in terms of sort of iteration or improvement of the feature set that's going to enable businesses to do the things that we're talking about on this call.
In some cases, we've also heard from some of our members that they represent actually higher risk in some areas of it too, because if they move off that platform, there seem to be less features. But I want to come to something that has been in the news a lot, and we've gotten a couple of questions on this one, is that we are really looking, when we're talking about the social channels that really have a monopoly, the Facebook, the Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest, whichever ones there are. But there are emerging trends of news sites, different ways of people communicating. We're seeing, for example, there has been, or it seems to be, mass exodus from Twitter. We're seeing a change there that is happening. But are there any emerging new social kind of channels that our audience and people might be interested in saying, explore this one? I'm aware of some specific ones around people's own interests, the very interest-driven ones. But is there any other one where you're saying there is a unique market that sits there that is worthwhile exploring? Or even if you don't know any specific ones, what do you see the trend to be in 4 or 5 years from now? We hear a lot also, no one is on Facebook anymore, or less people are on Facebook, they're moving over to Instagram. TikTok has its own marketplace. But what are some of the trends that people need to be aware as they're investing in this kind of communication and this way of building their customer base and their customer experience? It's always kind of good to know what tomorrow looks like.
Be where your people are.
That's a great one.
that's there's tons of social media networks to choose from, but if you're not where your people are, it doesn't really matter all that much. And if you don't know where your people are, ask them, right? If they're, it's like, hey, where do you spend most of your time on social media? If they're just at the counter, it's like, where do you spend most of the time on your social media? They'll probably tell you. If it's on TikTok, then be on TikTok. If it's on Twitter, then be on Twitter. And there's going to be some variation within that data set, but there's going to be one that comes out on top. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know, like, I think for wineries, like, that's Instagram, right? You got everybody in the vines posting their selfies, right? And hashtag, Pillar Estates or whatever. Like, that's the winery audience. And to a lesser degree, like the brewery audience, I think they have they're a little bit they have a little bit of a different audience, but ask them. And if you don't know, find out. That's my answer to that question.
You know what? I think it's an excellent one. I think we often try to search it out, trying to find it out from the outside of it. But I think it's right. I think we have to ask our customers and we have to connect with them on the platforms that they're on, because that's the only profile. And I think this is the perfect way actually to wrap this session up. And I'm looking at the time, because we always commit to not keeping any more longer than the hour that we have. So Adrian, from all of us, thank you for being with us over this lunch hour. We really appreciated your insight into your the presentation that you delivered. And also thanks go to the YMCA Employment and Immigrant Services of Niagara. Thank you for supporting this really important webinar session, as so many businesses are asking themselves the questions on how to best actually connect with customers and to enhance the customer experience. This webinar has been recorded and will be available on our website at gncc.ca, and also will be emailed to all webinar attendees and participants directly. So I thank you very much for joining us. I invite you to join us at our upcoming Business After 5. The information was shared in the chat function, or reach out to us directly. So please do stay in touch, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you next Tuesday. Thank you.